The CIA's secret war in Laos. Declassified. This war wasn't on the evening news. There were no official battles, no televised speeches, no victory parades. Yet it became one of the most devastating covert conflicts of the Cold War in the heart of Southeast Asia. The CIA fought a secret war so massive it dropped more bombs on Laos than the US dropped on all of Europe during World War II. Hello my friends. Welcome to Secret Agents Exposed. Today we dive into a story so wild, so shocking, so interesting you wouldn't believe it is true. Let's start. This is the classified story of the CIA's secret war in Laos. A war that was never declared, and one that nearly erased an entire country. The background: after World War II, the world was divided between two superpowers, the United States promoting capitalism, and the Soviet Union spreading communism. By the 1950s, as Southeast Asia had become a major Cold War battlefield, Vietnam was already split, Cambodia was tense, and Laos, a small mountainous country, became the next front. In 1961, newly elected President John F. Kennedy feared that if Laos fell to communism, the entire region would follow, the so-called domino theory. But there was a problem. Laos had signed a treaty of neutrality. The US couldn't officially send in troops, so the CIA came up with another solution: the secret army. Instead of sending US soldiers, the CIA built a secret army made up mostly of the Hmong people, an ethnic minority group in Laos. Why the Hmong? Because they lived in the mountains, hated communists, and were tough fighters. The CIA, operating under the codename Operation Momentum, trained, armed, and funded tens of thousands of these fighters in total secrecy. They turned Laos into a battlefield, fighting against the Pathet Lao, the communist group in Laos, and the North Vietnamese Army Hui Ray, using Laos to transport weapons and troops down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Laos became a massive hidden war zone, and no one back home knew. The most bombed country in history. From 1964 to 1973, US bombers dropped over 25 million tons of explosives on Laos, averaging one bombing mission every 8 minutes for 9 years straight. Let that sink in. The bombing was meant to disrupt the North Vietnamese supply routes and weaken the Pathet Lao forces. But in reality, many of these bombs fell on villages, schools, and farms. An estimated 30% of the bombs didn't explode, leaving behind a deadly legacy of unexploded ordnance (UXO) that still kills and injures civilians to this day. For the people of Laos, the war never truly ended. The CIA's invisible hand. The CIA ran the war out of Long Tieng, a secret airbase that didn't appear on any map. At its peak, Long Tieng was the second busiest airport in the world after Chicago O'Hare, and almost no one outside the CIA knew it existed. The agency operated everything. It recruited child soldiers, trained guerrilla fighters, managed supply drops, and coordinated bombings through front companies like Air America. Meanwhile, in the US, the government denied that there was even a war going on in Laos. It was one of the largest covert operations in CIA history, with a budget that rivaled some nations' military spending. But as the war dragged on, the cost in both lives and credibility began to grow. Collapse and cover up. In 1973, the US signed a peace agreement to withdraw from Vietnam soon after the bombing of Laos stopped, but the damage had been done. By 1975, the Pathet Lao took full control of the country. Many Hmong fighters and their families were abandoned, hunted down, and executed. Tens of thousands fled, some trekking through jungles to refugee camps in Thailand. Others made it to the United States, where they built new lives, but carried deep trauma from the war. The CIA for decades remained silent. The secret war in Laos was a buried chapter, unspoken, unwritten, unknown, until declassified documents and testimonies from former operatives revealed the shocking truth. Legacy and aftermath. To this day, Laos remains the most bombed country per capita in the world. Millions of unexploded cluster bombs still dot the countryside. Organizations like MAG and Legacies of War work tirelessly to remove them, one dangerous device at a time. The war changed the CIA and changed US foreign policy. It taught the world the power and danger of covert operations. But for the Hmong people and the people of Laos, it was never a secret. It was survival. The CIA's secret war in Laos wasn't just a hidden battle. It was a betrayal of truth. And only now are the voices of those who lived it finally being heard. Subscribe to Secret Agents Exposed for more declassified operations, untold spy missions, and Cold War secrets that shaped our world. See you in the next video with unique story.